systems because of these electrical field effects on the body. All right, we're ready to take some questions. Anybody got any questions?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Tell me about the effect of the metabolism on an individual for weight loss using the QRS. Whether it's a side effect, a benefit, or if it's a direct benefit.
Well, I don't know of any studies that have been done specifically looking at weight loss. If you think of the concept of the field, the magnetic field, the pulse magnetic fields of the QRS, they are health maintenance fields. And they change the thyroid, the adrenals, they affect the vagus nerve, they begin to affect the nitric oxide system, so they begin to make changes in the nervous system. By doing that, you may be able to, and again through the 3 Hertz component of the field, you cause the person to relax. A major part of eating, of course, is that people feel stressed, so they eat more. They need the stimulus of the food itself to release hormones in their bodies that give them a feeling of feeling better. So the QRS could theoretically help with that. I don't consider what the QRS does, and there's no specific sort of formula for using the QRS to decrease obesity. Some of the effects of obesity, however, would be helped a lot by the QRS. So people are now talking about something called Syndrome X, which is a syndrome where too much insulin is released into the body because of the carbohydrate loads that we're ingesting, particularly with refined sugars. Well, the magnetic fields have been found to actually cause the body's insulin to function more effectively. And in doing that, you mitigate some of the damage caused by that excessive amount of insulin in the body. And a number of diabetics, we've had a couple people who've given us some feedback about their QRSs, that their blood sugar levels have decreased within a week or 2 weeks of starting to use the QRS, sometimes even. So, to answer your question again, there's no specific direct response that you could say the QRS is going to reduce weight, but it could, primarily through, I would consider to be health maintenance or secondary mechanisms.
Okay, Dr. Pollack, I have something to share.
Please.
I've had cardiomyopathy for the last 2.5 years, and since I've had the QRS, my heart naturally goes into very erratic beats, and when I get on the mat, near the end of the 8 minutes, I will hear or feel 2 loud thumps, and then the heart begins to beat regularly.
That happens every time?
Yeah, seems to.
And have you tried it longer than 8 minutes?
No. Is that a possibility? Just turn it on again?
Well,
if it doesn't.
I mean, what we tell people on the call, it depends on what you're dealing with. If you're getting a response from the QRS and you are not having a reaction or a problem with the QRS, it's not causing a problem. So if you don't get a complete response, then there's 2 things that you could do. You could increase the strength of the field that you're using.
I use this on 1.
So you obviously could increase the strength, but you could also increase the amount of time that you have on it.
I see.
So if you are a little concerned about what it may do by increasing the strength, then what you can do is to increase the amount of time. Then I would go up to about 16 minutes. So try it for 16 minutes.
I see.
And then do that for about a week. And if you don't have any problems with that, it doesn't seem to cause you any side effects, then you can increase it to 2.
I see.
And then you can gradually keep increasing it, so that you could basically then, at some point, maybe 2-3 months later, be able to use any frequency that you want without a problem.
I see.
If people have a problem, let's say 10, then one of the first things to do is to back off to like 8 or 9, and then let the body acclimate to that level. If 10 is too much, the body is telling you it's not ready for that amount of energy. It needs to rebalance itself. It needs to re-equilibrate, and so you have to give the body a chance or some time to do that. Sometimes that can happen right away. Sometimes it can happen in a day or 2. Sometimes it could take a week. Sometimes it could take a month. And, only after several months would you know whether it's going to help or not.
Now, is it an advantage to increase the numbers and go up? Just to test to see what would happen?
You can do either one, whichever you're comfortable with. If somebody is very anxious, if they're worried, and they tend to react... worried. Well, I'm just talking in general terms now for everybody on the line.
I see.
If somebody is in fact anxious, if somebody is somebody who is very sensitive to medications of different kinds, then what I would tend to do is to increase the time before I increase the frequency.
I'm not on any medications. I only do homeopathy.
Then it shouldn't be a problem. So again, if you're not worried, or you're not very sensitive to medications, then the next thing to do would be to increase the strength.
I see.
So I would go to a 2, or you could even jump to 2 and go to a 3. But I would go to 2. I would go one step at a time. If somebody is in pretty good shape physically, and they don't tend to be an adverse reactor to treatments or medications, then you can accelerate that treatment level very rapidly. So you could do it every couple of days where you go up another level.
Now, just normally, I do 2 in the morning and maybe 2 at noon, and then I do a 1 at night. And if I have any erratic problems, I'll get on it and do a 1. That's been my pattern.
Well, and you may have to see whether a 2 or a 4 or a 5, it helps your erratic problems even more.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Quantron resonance.
I have a question. Do you hear me?
Yes.
How come that new injuries heal a lot faster with QRS than, let's say, a chronic illness? My wife fell the other day and she hurt herself pretty bad, and with 2 treatments the pain was gone. With my arthritis, in 6 months there's practically no improvement. So what can be the difference?
There's probably a number of different phenomena happening, obviously. In acute problems, the level of pathology in the system around the problem, you have not developed an abnormal homeostatic state to the same degree. In other words, the injury itself is not involved as much of the organism. When you stub your toe, what hurts? It's not just your toe that hurts, your whole body hurts, because the signal from that stubbed toe goes into the circulation. Hormones are released, pain mediators are released, slow inflammatory agents are released, and they circulate through the whole organism. So really, even from a small injury in a small area of the body, you have effects through the whole body. So an acute injury often will respond particularly with pain. Now, you have to make a distinction between pain and healing. You can reduce pain, particularly in acute injury, very rapidly, but you don't necessarily, you haven't stopped the need for healing. In an injury, the body still needs to heal itself. So all you've done symptomatically is help the pain, but if you continue the treatment, you will actually find that the healing process is shortened. In studies with rats, where they cut out sections of the skins of the rats and then expose them to magnetic fields, they actually found that the skin of the rat healed in a third the time. Same thing happens with fractures, even routine fractures. It heals faster, but you need a fairly significant amount of exposure to get that to happen. In chronic processes, it also depends not only on the chronicity of the process and what are all the different factors that are causing the pain, but it also depends on the depth of the problem. So if you have a problem deep in the spine or deep in the pelvis, a chronic problem, the magnetic field of the QRS, being a health maintenance field, not a powerful therapeutic field, what it does is it takes longer to work. And so the field drops off very rapidly in strength. A 5,000 Gauss magnet at 1 inch away from the surface of the magnet has lost 80% of its field. it's more of a problem with static magnets, that field loss, than it is with pulse field. So even an extremely weak pulse